Good morning, guys. Happy FYR Friday to you. We're so excited that you're here hanging out with us, where we talk about the opportunity to build great lives, to build wealth. And in our organization, we talk about funding your reason, right? Understanding what your reason is, the big picture, what you're here on earth to accomplish, and what you care about. And then how to utilize the amazing eXp platform to fund that reason with all of the opportunities that are here. And what's really cool is we get to bring other people along for the ride and help them do the same. So as we are building, we're always turning around and lifting others up with us. So our group is called FYRE, but we work with all of the groups, right? No silos here. We all of our brothers and sisters across the eXp platform, U.S. and internationally, are our friends, and we all work together and we share. We open up. This is live. This is live. It's public, available for everyone, so that we can all learn and grow together. And speaking of, today we have someone who's not in our organization, but is an awesome human and a great friend. And we're so excited to have Kelly Fasterling here with us. And I'm excited to hear what she's got to share too, because Kelly yes, she's a real estate agent. Yes, she's here with eXp, but she also has a lot of other hats and what she's been doing. First of all, really cool corporate background in building incredible systems. I'm a systems guy, so that's near and dear to my heart. I love it. But what she has done over the years is systematically help others build sustainable wealth, consulting them, teaching them, showing them the path, how it works, how to do things that safe. And right now with real estate, right, things are the roller coaster of real estate is something that everybody's familiar with, and the market changes and all the other things change, and those things only impact you if you're hanging on for dear life. All right. And so if you're building a sustainable business and you're building other systems around it and utilizing the tools that exist, then you have safety. You have other income sources, and you have structure, and you have things that don't always depend on the way that the wind's blowing at the particular time. That allows you to actually free up mentally and emotionally to go focus on building your business, and you become more successful as a result, in that avenue as well. So I don't want to give away all the secret and all the magic, but Kelly, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. You have been an inspiration for me since I've seen you on stage a couple times, and you've greatly impacted my life. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. We're excited to hear from you. Give us just kind of like give us a little bit of your path, because you've done so many things, and I believe that whenever I want someone to coach me or teach me, I want someone with a varied background, because they've hit all the potholes that I might hit. So,
Yeah.
what have you
Yeah.
done? Give us some of the scoop.
Yeah. So I started out corporate America, go to school, get a good job, started down that path. Software development for 25 years. It was an amazing journey. Loved just watching what people did and craft systems to help them do their job. Got laid off. A month later, husband left, three boys, 11, 13, 15, 100% solely financially responsible for them. And I had to figure it out. Diagnosed with a melanoma, lost my 401k twice. I mean, just a whole series,
Everything was going great for you.
a whole series of events. And it was like life needs to change. I've got to figure this out. I started down the path of entrepreneurship, with which a lot of us in real estate shifted out of corporate America to entrepreneurship. And I got to figure it out. I started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. You know that one?
So good.
So good. And then his cash flow quadrant even better, because he talks about being employed, which I was, to being self-employed, which I became, to creating leverage with assets, leverage with business.
Yeah.
That was so powerful. It got me shifted into investing in real estate. So why did I shift into becoming a realtor? Because I was starting to invest a lot, and I was referring people to how I was investing. And my question is always, how do I get paid? Well, yeah, you have to get your license. Well, I can do that. So that's how I got started. And of course, that opportunistically opens up selling my house, my children's, family, friends, and it opens up the world.
Yeah.
But
Were
then
you to
as
a career at that point?
I
Right.
went, I
You
was,
still had your corporate job, you got your license, because there's a lot of people in that boat right now
yeah,
trying to make that shift.
no, I cut and ran from the corporate job. after I got out of that, things were moving so quickly. I didn't want to get back on that treadmill.
Yeah.
So I just kind of cut and ran and really got to figure out
Nice.
how I was going to feed those three boys because they were hungry little guys. So I got to shift, and as I shifted, I started with the real estate investing,
hmm
and then shifted quickly into how to manage the money to invest, how to manage it safely so it could grow in two places at the same time, and yet be available for investing, which then kind of just continued down the path.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Too, I mean, it's funny. I always say, it's actually not hard to make money. Right? Once you figure it out, once you can make money in anything. I love, how watching like Grant Cardone when he did his
yeah,
Undercover Billionaire, right? And they shipped him up, and I think Glenn Stearns did the same thing. And it's like, here's $500. You can't use your name, you can't use your connections. Could you start over and make, become a millionaire again? And doing this, once you unlock the code to make money, you find
right.
you can make money in anything, and making money is not it's not that hard. It requires hard work, but it's not that complicated.
Yeah,
However, the thing that a lot of people still don't learn is how to keep the money once you make it, right? And if you're not making millions, okay, but you're good at keeping it, it can compound, and you can turn it into something that you can retire with, with the numbers that you want to retire with.
yeah, total magic, letting compounding work for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in starting out your real estate sales career, how much of it was working with clients and how much of it was your own investment at that point?
It was pretty much totally my own investment. The I would consider my working with clients pretty opportunistic.
Okay.
And even today, I'm a referral agent at this point. I've got a team that's large enough that I feel will service my people better than I can because
Yeah.
they're in the trenches all day long, and I'm dabbling in that. And so I invest my time elsewhere.
Yeah. So that's you're in the third box, third
Yeah,
quadrant for that one.
exactly. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
in
I
the
love that.
leverage quadrant.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, most people I think are familiar with Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and understanding the quadrants and stuff, but really digging into those things and understanding what they mean is that was eye-opening for me as well. I was blessed to have somebody pass that book along to me in my 20s and go,
Yeah,
figure this out. This is the
yeah,
thing, right? Because I was definitely in that, employee box, and trying to do that.
right, right.
Yeah. All right. So with your with the path that you were on and what
Yeah,
you've learned, right? I
yeah,
mean, because you've gotten to a point where you actually teach the Kiyosaki principles now, right? That's not just something that you've absorbed.
right.
Okay. So you understand it at a high level. You get the process. You understand about business ownership versus being an employee, because even if you're a small business owner, you're still the employee, right? You're just your own boss, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You get to
So
set your schedule.
yeah. So the whole right column is about leverage.
Yes,
Right, it's all about leverage. So if whether you own the business and you have people that are doing work, right, and that could be a real estate sales team, right,
right,
or it could be building an eXp organization, right.
right.
And those are the two. I love that here, where you have the ability to do both. There used to be. I came from another company where we were taught a great model, but we were also taught that it was the only model, one size fits all, and bigger is better.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So what do you teach people when they go to build leverage? What guidance do you give them when it goes to, if they're starting out on that path, what do you tell them?
You got to start with what's important to you. Why do you want to do this? Because if you always hear if your why is not big enough,
Hmm.
you're not going to move forward. My why, my husband lost his corporate job about 5 years ago, and we travel a lot. We like to explore and adventure.
Yeah.
And if he went and got another job, he'd be back on that 2 week vacation time, and that just didn't work for us.
Yeah.
So keeping him unemployed is a real thing. And then my youngest son, about a year and a half ago, got diagnosed with MS,
Mhm.
and it's very progressive. And he's 30 years old, and it's really hard to watch somebody sitting now at about 25% of where he was a year ago.
Wow.
And so, as a mom, I'm totally on a mission to find a solution because I know it's out there. I just
Yeah.
I just gotta find it. I took him down to Colombia to do a stem cell treatment.
Okay.
because I could.
Yeah.
Now he's with a functional medicinist, and it costs money and it's not covered by insurance. That's my why.
Wow.
It's being able to bless my family and then help my agents bless their families in the way that they want to. So it's starting with that why. But after the why, you've got to have the belief. You've got to
Yes.
truly know that this is the best thing. And for me, coming out of that financial services background, I work with people every day to retire. And
Hmm.
so a lot of my clients are federal system clients. They're doctors. They've been making 200,000 a year, 300,000 a year for 20 years. And when they get close to retirement, they're going to retire with 3 to 4,000 a month. And I'm looking at that model saying, great, but they're used to 200,000 a year. What's 3,000 a month going to buy them, especially buy their wife is usually where it's at. It's not going to make it for them. Well, we as realtors, we don't have that either. Unless we're building our own SEP IRA or our own something, we're left without any ability to retire. So when I looked at this eXp model and saw the power of what we could build here, saw that when we did that 2-for-1 stock split, which I don't think is an anomaly with where eXp is going. Microsoft and Apple split 5 and 9 times
Yeah.
with this organization being the fastest growing organization out there, there's a great opportunity for that to happen again. We made millionaires out of 100 of our agents on our little team here, our freedom team. That's powerful.
Awesome.
When somebody calls you and says, I've been in real estate 19 years and my stock just went over to $1.2 million and I was able to sell some, pay off my house, go buy an Airbnb on the lake. I now have a path towards financial freedom because I'm just closing real estate here. And then you couple it with the ability, I passed that 3 to 4,000 a month barrier within just a couple of years here.
Yeah.
And these doctors have to work 20, 30 years to get there. We are so blessed to
Yeah.
have this model for us. So belief is a key.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, because you can feel the need, you can feel the desperation. You might be in the moment where you need it, or you might be just envisioning the life that you want to build. But if you don't believe that you can do it or that you deserve it, some people have, I was talking about some people have an unhealthy relationship with money in the way that some others have an unhealthy relationship with food, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
I'm on the food side.
right. Right. Everybody's on one of those two, probably, right? So, but you can change it. You can change your perception. You can change your mindset on that, and it's really key to go through that. And having someone guide you through it, is really helpful. I love that you brought up stocks. I came in 2018, so I didn't get the benefit that some people did, where the stocks were 11 cents or $2, but
Right.
it was like a $5 price, in that range, 3 to 5, and then going up quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and I watch it go up very high, and we watched, millionaires be made where they really didn't pay
Right.
attention to the stock. Um,
Yeah. They
I
didn't even know they had it
I
yet.
know, I know. There was a top agent who was like, "Listen, love it here. I'm not leaving because I'm not happy. It's been great. However, this other company that tended to write checks to top agents to come over,
Yeah.
offered a very large check,
Yeah.
very large check, and to come over and said, "Listen, I can't walk away from this. This is a large six-figure check to move my business over, and if it doesn't work out, I'll come back, but I'll have this money." And I
Right.
said, "Well, you haven't vested." I knew they were Icon. You haven't vested in on your eXp stock yet, so you're going to walk away from your stock. And they're like, "I haven't even looked at my stock. Really, I'm not here for the stock." And I said, "Well, do me a favor before you move, before you make a decision, to look at your stock." This person had $1.2 million and of stock in their account. They had Icon, they had done the stock program, and they were a very high producing agent, obviously, to get an offer like that. Uh,
Exactly.
and so they stayed, but the stock, that was also the time just before the stock absolutely catapulted forward, and it was
Right.
over $2 million within a couple of months. And this person reached out and said, I'm so glad I didn't leave. I didn't even know I had it. I thought maybe it was a couple $1,000s.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Such a
the
blessing.
Yeah, but the benefit now, right?
Mhm.
Stocks all over the place, or are all over the place,
Right.
and it's lower. And the split, right? You had the same net amount of value of equity in the company. But
Exactly.
you just had twice as many shares at half the cost. Do you do you remember why Glenn did that? What one of his primary reasons? Do you remember hearing about that?
I don't remember that one. Tell me.
Okay, so one of the big things is Glenn wants agents to be owners in the company, right? That
Yeah.
was part of the whole reason of doing that, and he wants agents to have, and so there's all the opportunities where you get it when you close your first sale with the company. You get it if you bring someone in and they close their first sale. You get it when you cap. You get it when you hit icon in large chunks,
Right.
right? So all of those things happen, but when you get a dollar amount of stock and the stock was up at $75 a share, right? Then, if you get $200 worth of stock, you're getting a couple of shares of stock, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so by splitting it and bringing it back down into the 30s at that time, right? Then you got twice as many shares. So now with overall real estate stock being pretty low, lowest it's been in a while. It's back. Like all the people said, well, I didn't get in, in the heyday. Well, guess what? The company, you have the benefit of having the company exploding and doing amazing things. They just announced you have your choice of a whole bunch of different CRMs that you want to use at no additional cost and all of those things. All of these now benefits of this solid company. Um,
Yeah.
However, you get in at basically the same stock price that was from 6 years ago.
It's a benefit. You always hear buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
What is the mentality? Buy high, sell
I
low.
know, I
It
know.
truly is. So we are so fortunate that the stock is where it's at. And again, back to belief. If you truly believe that, like other companies that do well, it'll swing back around, that could be massive for people that are in production.
Yeah, yeah. The stories that we heard from before that people felt like they missed out on. There are people that are going, "Oh, I want to go. I'm going to change to this other company because they're promising me we're going to get stock." But we don't know if those companies are going to thrive or succeed or build.
Exactly.
Certainly we broke history, in what we did. So there's no guarantee that another company is going to, make history again, in anywhere near that sort of a
Right.
opportunity. So that's, but now you can build your own story.
Right. Well, and yeah, we have first mover advantage, and yeah, you need to really look at what that looks like. Been around since 2009. You look at Uber and first mover advantage. You look at all of these companies, Airbnb, eXp has first mover advantage because we're out there and we built it without a debt structure.
Yeah.
So it just puts us in a position where, boy, you look at all the new things that keep coming out, the gifts that keep being given
Right, right.
to agents are amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the biggest danger I've found with companies is that when they build massive success, what they tend to do, like you're climbing this mountain, right? And you want to be number one. You start off at number 23 or whatever in the marketplace, and you're doing all these things and you're working on it, and you get up to number one. And what most companies unfortunately do when they get to be number one is they start playing king of the mountain, right? They're number one, and all they want to do is maintain number one position in that same area. And it's inevitable that things will change and your unique value proposition will get, someone else will iterate on it and do whatever, and there'll be copycats and they'll do whatever. And if all you do is try to fight to maintain number one position in that one category,
Yeah,
um, without innovation, you're in
yeah,
trouble, right? And that's why number ones don't last number one very well.
yeah.
But the ones that have staying power, like Netflix, I just actually put something out recently, right? They innovate, and I love the fact that Glenn and Leo and the whole leadership team, they're focused on constant innovation. So it's like when someone says like, "Hey, we're catching up to you in this area," we're like,
Yeah.
"Cool," but we're not even focused on that anymore. We've now innovated and we're over here. We've moved the goalposts on you, and you haven't even started thinking about this stuff yet. So,
Exactly. And competition is wonderful because it just creates a better environment for all of us.
yeah,
It's
absolutely. Yeah. So you hit on you work if you work with a doctor or someone else, they've got a sizable income and they're structuring and they're setting money away, kind of that a little bit of an old school style of building wealth, um, and and living off the interest. And again, nothing wrong with that. However, I love the napkin math stuff, right? We've got a couple people on here that are experts on napkin math. They've studied Gene Frederick's presentation, right? So talk to us about that power of compounding and what are the comparisons between building something like revenue share versus trying to just sell enough houses to build up a safety net.
Yeah. So when I walk people through investing in real estate, because most people are attracted to me because I've done a lot of houses. I did about 90 houses in 5 years, and I use a system that does it all for me. I'm all about systems. And with that, so people are attracted to that piece. And so we start with what does it take to create, 5,000 a month income with houses? How much money do you need to make that happen, which is very sizable, to get that cash flow? And based on my experience, it's a lot. You're in the millions. And then we look at stocks. And if you invest in stocks, and stocks are up and down, but they have a great long history. But you start looking at what you have to put in, at least with the real estate, you could get leverage and use somebody else's money. But with stocks, it's all your own money.
Mhm.
But you're still putting in the millions to get that 5,000 a month. Now you get down to attracting agents and creating leverage in business. Kiyosaki's third quadrant up there. And what does it take to create about a 5,000 a month? I call it pension. And when I was referring to the doctor, that wasn't his 401k he was saving. That was his pension given to him by the federal system that he earned after that many years. And so,
Right.
I consider our stock bucket kind of like that 401k. I consider our revenue share bucket kind of like that pension that you can go build. Now, it's not guaranteed. It can go up, it can go down. It's based on who produces what. But to build a 5,000 a month income from revenue share, you need a handful of agents. A handful, let me just call it 100. You
Mhm.
need 100 agents to get you to that 5,000 a month that you would have had to spend 1.5 million in real estate to get, or 1.5 million in stocks to get. And which is easier? You look at people and how much they're creating right now in the real estate business, and it's tight right now. And so can you set aside, even if you could set aside 100,000 a year and go buy one house a year, investment property in a market where it cash flows and makes sense and appreciates well, even if you could do that, it's going to take you 15 years to get those properties. We've been able to create, I've seen people create it a whole heck of a lot faster than I have, but creating that 5,000 a month in this model doesn't take as much of a heavy lift as it does to create the money to finance the real estate or the money to finance the stocks.
Yeah.
So I just feel truly so blessed to have this as an opportunity for another stream of income, because I truly believe in multiple streams, not all eggs in one basket.
Right.
But the ability to create that in this model, I don't see it anywhere else available to us as realtors, to have that abundance.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And when you say 100, by the way, just for everyone, in case, just so there's clarity, we're talking about 100 agents in your organization, right? So, because I know a lot of people think in order to do this, the top earners and everything else, they must have gone out and recruited thousands of people, right? And I always laugh, when earlier days, but when Gene, because he and I would talk about it all the time, and Brent and Jay Kinder and all of the OGs that were in here that have that are now kind of in that very very large earner group, and none of them just a handful of years ago had 30 agents, 30 FLQA qualifying agents in their front line. None of them,
Right,
right?
right.
And so Gene was at about 25. But I mean, he was still making over $300,000 a month, right?
Yeah,
So
not bad.
it's not too just a month, a month.
A
So
month.
Right. And so that is the outstanding part is that it really is a collaborative kind of team. I call it the flying wedge. You can call it a pyramid. I'm calling it the flying wedge. Right? Because the flying wedge is when you link arms and you run to forward together to accomplish something.
Yes.
And right, and that's that concept where this is something you don't do it alone. You're
No,
bringing people along with you, and kind of you look around and find people on the same mission with you that bring
right.
complementary, sometimes similar, sometimes complementary, mindset, experiences, and everything else, going towards the same goal, and we get to go together. And
Yeah.
that's way more fun. Let's say if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together.
Well, and that's what eXp has brought me. I was in a small brokerage with Nancy and a discount because I was just referring to real estate investing and I didn't know anything else. When I was shown this model, I had never seen splits and caps. That's how naive I was. I took it to Nancy and said, they look over my shoulder. Tell me what I'm looking at. She brought the whole brokerage in.
Wow.
So, when you start looking at the value of what can be created in this model, it's very unique.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about real estate investing because I love it. And I've always, said, listen, if you have your license and you're in the space and you're helping others either build wealth or, achieve their goals in real estate, I mean, that's what you know. That's what invest in
Yeah,
what you know. So, what if someone has been walking around the pool thinking it looks really nice and refreshing to jump in and afraid to take a step, do you have like some thoughts on where should they start if they want to go do that and why should they start?
I do. And it kind of depends on where they're at in their career and with their family. So let me take it from a couple different angles.
Okay.
One angle would be like my son's, 30s, buying first house and the ability to buy your first house with low down payment and then buy it with a mind to make it a rental. And if you have the stamina to move, each year and make this next one a rental, make the next one a rental, make the next one a rental, the ability to grow an equity base without a whole lot of money is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Now, when you get our age, you're not willing to move. You don't want to move every year. So now you have to come up with some money.
Mhm.
And so now it's where do you go invest that money? So first of all, a lot of realtors, especially if they're doing really well, they don't have time. They hardly have time to see their kids and their family. So they don't have time to go figure out and chase properties and find the good deals and vet them and know whether they're doing the right thing. That's where I started. I started with Kiyosaki's mentoring so I could do it myself. And I did door knocking, foreclosures, auctions, just a whole ball of wax. And it didn't take me long to realize I don't like property management because I'm not good at it. I don't want to take the call in the middle of the night and I don't want to chase rent.
Mhm.
It's not my skill set.
Right.
And when it came time to evict the first tenant, I listened to every story he had and just left him in there, left him in there, left him in there.
Mhm.
Not my skill set.
Yeah.
So it's getting people that can do it much better than I can.
Yeah.
But also, I'm in a market in Colorado Springs where our prices are high. And when you look at the rent ratio against the purchase price of our property, it's not the market to be in. And then now you put politics on top of it, and we're not very landlord friendly anymore here in Colorado. So there are a couple of reasons why investing in Colorado or California or some other states may not be your best spot.
Yeah.
So now it's figuring out, well, where and how do you invest somewhere else without having to do all the legwork? And that's where I was blessed with an introduction to a group that does everything for me. And they're in eXp now. They're an agent. They're closing about 50 transactions a month. They're just
Awesome.
a powerhouse. All they do is investment real estate and they don't do it in their home state of Utah. They're doing it in Tennessee or Indianapolis or Texas or Florida. And so that's where all my houses are. And they do it all for me. And that has been a true game changer for me because I found that my skills were better served and better used in different places than chasing down the next best property that I can find, rehabbing it, managing the contractors, property managing it. I can use my time better.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Are you a fan of, because some people kind of go, I do fix and flip, fix and flip, excuse me, fix and hold property, the property management side of it, the whatever, I mean, are you a fan of a kind of a diversified portfolio in that, or do you believe in kind of following what's good for the market at that time, for which one you should pursue, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, I've done both a lot of single family
Mhm.
and I've done apartment and got a little nailed on the apartment side, which was interesting. COVID comes along and
Mm,
you're sitting on 90 doors
yeah.
and you're thinking, I am so well diversified across many areas around the country. I'm fine. Well, when my folks in the apartment building figured out that I couldn't evict, because there was a period of time we couldn't evict,
Yeah.
they just decided they didn't have to pay rent.
Brilliant.
And so I had half of them not paying rent. So we sold the apartment building. In the houses, I didn't have that problem. So I stay pretty much in single family homes, 322, three bedroom, two bath, two car garage, little lower than median price in the area, just to and then pick the areas that are very landlord friendly, that give you the best rent ratio and have great job diversity
Hmm.
in there so you have a good renter base.
Awesome.
And so the company that I use that does all that for me, and they even property manage it, it's just been a powerful model to help really build wealth on that side.
That's awesome. So there's a couple key takeaways from what you're saying. Just on that statement, those statements alone, right there, right? So for me, it's two things. One is the fact that you are not just sticking to your home market, right? And I think a lot of people, that's something that we took that strategy when we were opening brokerages back in the day, and most of the people I knew that had a brokerage, they were a realtor in that market, and so they wanted to they wanted to hang the shingle, they wanted to have their own brokerage. And again, nothing wrong with that if your market is great for that, or for other reasons that works out for you. However, with the intention of building a business, when we started, buying franchises and opening up brokerages, we looked at which markets were best. Now, we did start somewhat local,
Yeah,
but everything that I did was, a minimum of 45 minutes away from where I lived, right? Because we went into markets where like that market is, it's got a strong housing market, it has a high number of realtors, it has, right, good average sales price, it's got,
exactly.
tax benefits of the business and everything else like that. And so we launched them. We started launching them in different states. So
Yeah,
same approach.
yes,
Um, and I would encourage agents. A lot of times, agents are looking at trying to recruit, and we've had some people come here specifically for revenue share, right? They're
yeah,
selling real estate, but they go like, I'm looking to retire from selling. I've been doing it for a while, and I'm ready for that next opportunity,
yeah,
right? And I get this. So I'm going to go build this, but then they only focus in on their local market. And I live in the Northeast. And I've been building brokers out here for a long time, and there are several places in the Northeast that are very traditional, very resistant to change.
yeah,
eXp has been a new model, right? I was growing another new model at the time, that no one had ever heard of, and trying to get people to try it out. They just thought it was weird and different. And but I could only at that point we could only you got a territory. You could only recruit in your territory.
exactly.
The beauty of this model is look where agents are most acceptant of change, of new models, of opportunity, and that kind of stuff. If you go, well, the people just here don't get it. I have agents, looking to come on board, and I say, you have so much influence. You're such a great agent. People will follow you. This will be a great opportunity for you. And that they look around their market and they go, yeah, but there's not a lot of heavy hitters here. There's not a lot of, it's not growing very fast in this market. We're one of the
Right.
largest real estate brokerages in the world, but in some markets we're still small.
We
Even
are.
if it's a big market, and so they see that as a lack of opportunity. And I would recommend that agents start looking at the if you're growing this as your business, look at the entire United States, look at the entire world, look at
World.
all of the place where there's an opportunity to attract agents, and determine which market is your best opportunity, and then go get to, you don't have to know anyone there. Get to know, go on vacation there. Go, go take some trips there. Go, look up and see who's got market share. Go on social media and type in all the keywords to find, realtors in that local market, and look at the ones who are influential and fun and kind of match your mission. They're going to be out there talking about it, and you're going to, hey, I know we don't know each other, but I've been seeing you on social media, and our messages are so aligned. Like I feel like I already know you. Like I'm going to be
Exactly.
heading out there in a couple of weeks. Can we grab coffee? Can I buy you coffee? Build a
Exactly.
relationship. Go throw a rock in a different pond to create the ripples instead of just in your own backyard.
Yeah. Now,
Massive. Sorry, go ahead.
two of my best experiences, and best team building opportunities have been in other markets. Um, we're pretty saturated here in Colorado Springs. We have some great realtors here, and so
Yeah.
we've talked it up a lot. One of my cold calls was up in Montana, and she connected, caught her at the right time with the message, and then she turned around and brought in three other broker owners. So she was five, another five, another five. She's 25 agents there in Montana now, and that's one of my biggest teams.
That's awesome.
And then another one that was really funny. We were in this class together down in Texas, a personal development class, and he was one of the leaders. And I just really respected him from afar, but we'd never talked. I'm in the airport leaving, carrying my eXp bag over my shoulder, and I'm pacing because I do that all the time. So I'm pacing around, and he stops me and he says, "Oh, so you're with eXp?" Well, he was going to buy his brokerage there in California, and the broker took it into Real. And he was a
Okay.
commercial agent, and Real does not support commercial agents. And he was 6 months of frustration.
Mm,
He came into eXp. He immediately brought in 8 agents with him. He was just down at a Buffini conference,
nice.
donning his eXp commercial shirt. And the largest broker in Texas came up to him and said, "Let's have coffee. Let's talk." He's
Nice.
got a large brokerage. I mean, you don't know where opportunity comes from. And it's just like being a realtor. You don't want to be stealthy.
Hmm.
Nobody knows you're a realtor. You're not going to sell anything. Likewise with agent attraction, it's just being willing to talk to people and that knowing you're blessing them with the best opportunity they can have. And I just want to share it with everybody. So everybody I come across gets an opportunity to lean in if they want.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. As realtors, we tend to think hyper local. Real estate's hyper local. It's our community. I'm the local mayor of my town, and I know my people here, and we sell houses and that kind of stuff. And you really, you should leverage the stuff that you have to drive to super far because you may not know the
Yeah,
market as well and that kind of stuff. So that's why you refer business out and you focus on your hometown, but investment and attraction and those things, the world is your oyster on those, right? You have a lot.
yeah,
We have to look up and see, a much broader opportunity out there.
yeah. Yeah, Scott was telling me I need to make that little EXP bag one of my assets on my balance sheet.
That's right.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's right. Marketing. That's so good. So, so one of the, and I'm trying to think, the other thing you had talked about. Oh, the other thing was leverage. The other thing was leverage, right? And I think that's another key piece. You have people doing these things for you. You're leveraging out the stuff that where you're not strong. You have a team of people that are doing those components and building that out. And I think that's really key as well.
It
You've
is.
stayed in your strength zone, focus on
Exactly.
what you're good at, and then you've brought in, the other folks to do this. But you didn't not do them.
Right.
I mean, you did not do them, but
Right.
they didn't. They got done in your business. They just didn't get done by you.
Right. Exactly. It's figuring out the action you're going to take. I truly believe in positive forward action and time blocking on your calendar.
Hmm.
Knowing what's important, putting those rocks in first, those big things that you're going to get done, and
Right.
then putting the pebbles in around them and then let the sand sift and do what it's supposed to. But make sure the rocks are handled. And so time blocking those rocks on the calendar
Yes.
and then honoring it once you've time blocked it. But I would find the things that I would procrastinate on. Social media is one of those for me. I would just find I'd be dragging my feet. And knew I needed to do it. And it's just, okay, where do I leverage? How do I get help? Uh, who do I put in place that can do this a whole lot better than I can?
Mhm.
And finding those resources, being able to invest not only in that, but also on the coaching side. Totally up leveled when I came into eXp because it has put me with people that think up here. And I don't care what level you're at in eXp and how successful you've been in production or in agent attraction, there are people to learn from. And it might be the newest person that just came into the company that is running circles around everybody else. We've seen some of that.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Gina's always said that the person that will have the biggest group is not even here yet.
That's right. That's right.
So the opportunity is so wide open. But the up leveling and the ability that for this season, what do I need? I need really an understanding of social media. I need an understanding of how to do YouTube. I need an understanding of how to do funnels. I need, a different ability. All I have to do is open my eyes and go out and do a little bit of a search. And I can find somebody in this community that we have that does it really, really well. And so I lean into a lot of what I call in-season coaching.
Mm.
What do I need right at this moment to help me go from here to here in one aspect of my business?
I like that. I like that. That's a great perspective. So let me ask you about investing here at eXp, right? Because we have a couple of really great investors in our group, and they do all different kinds, and they are of course expanding their investor business here at eXp, and they are also looking to attract other investors. And others that may not be investors, but they know, they're talking to people out there and bringing those folks in. So, how investor friendly is eXp, and why is this platform good for that?
Oh, this is so amazing. That's so amazing. So, number one, the ability to connect in with this pool and partnership of, 86,000 agents
Mhm.
and be able to find somebody. If your home state, your home city is not the best place for you to be putting money into real estate, then there is one somewhere in the
Right.
United States that will suit that. And so to be able to find those resources so readily is amazing opportunity. In my financial services business, I had like George was moving from Sheridan down to Cape Coral. So easy to go find a realtor in Sheridan, a realtor in Cape Coral, and just help people.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But then also the investor model. So understanding what it's like to invest, understanding what the numbers look like, understanding the metrics, how to buy, where to buy, all of that. There's a lot of education out there on that side to help agents really lean into that. You look at 2024, 25% of the transactions went to investors.
Hmm.
If you're not working with investors, you lost a quarter of the business that was out there.
Wow. Yeah.
But you don't have to think that it's only in your backyard. When I got my license, because I was referring people to how I was investing, which happened to be in Florida or Arizona or Tennessee.
Hmm.
But I get paid a realtor commission on that forever. So lifelong. So if that investor buys a house twice a year, for 20 years and they buy 40 houses, I will get that referral commission forever on that agent. That's a powerful relationship
Yeah.
and dynamic. So there are a lot of those opportunities out there. It's just, keeping your eyes open and looking for them.
And how's we're talking about the collaboration and stuff. How's the investor community of other agents who are investors and the learning? Because I know a couple, and I know that they've built some stuff. Um, how are you finding that community, and what are you getting out of that collaboration?
Well, my collaboration predominantly is with this group that I use out of Utah.
Hmm.
And so they basically do my investing for me. So that's been just a gift for me. And what I have noticed is that because they're part of this eXp community and I'm part of this eXp community, there's this kind of instant credibility factor that we carry in this community. And when people come across me and say, I want to know what you're doing, that instant introduction, yeah, it just makes life so much easier. The collaboration in this environment is so much easier.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's, I mean, I always tell people, as they're trying to kind of figure out conceptually, it's the entire US is one office, right? So when if
Yeah.
you have in your local market, you're used to having your office and you had someone down the hall that you could go, like, well, I know you do a lot of this. Let me go ask you a question on that. That agent in, Phoenix or whatever, they're an agent in your office down the hall, right? It's a virtual hall, but they're still an agent in your office down the hall. You hang with them. Guess what? You use all the same tools. You have all the same resources. You have all the same platforms.
Yeah.
Everyone's financial structure is the same. So all of that works really seamlessly together, and it makes it easy to partner with agents and different brokerages and share the information, collaborate on purchases and sales and everything else like that because everyone's operating on the same operating system and
Yes.
has the same structure and has the same, kind of rules, I'll say, as far as how things work.
And the difference in this environment than I've experienced in other environments is because we're all owners, there's a whole level, different degree of cooperation and collaboration. For instance, when Jeff was selling his first 1031 exchange, went out to workplace, looked through who was talking 1031s, found a guy in Arizona, no
Right?
surprise, called them up and said, I'm doing my first one. Would you mind helping me? An hour later, they're talking on the phone. That is powerful to see who is chattering about what and who knows what you want to know, and then connect. And I would say probably 99% of the time, they're more than open to having that dialogue and that conversation with you.
Yeah, that's great. That is great.
Powerful.
Yep, absolutely. So I was thinking maybe if you're okay with it, we can open up to some questions because I know we got some people in here that I've been seeing the chats, flying around down there. I know like Anna and Dan, and there's several others that do a lot of different types of investments and that kind of stuff, and
Right.
work with others.
Right.
So I'd love to see if they have any questions. Um, and I know that like Anna's throwing in on a couple different things, which is awesome. Dan had asked, what are the top three things we should be looking for in a given market?
Well, as an investment, I'm sure Dan's talking about. Yeah. From an investing standpoint, I think number one, you got to just pick landlord friendly. Just figure out how you can manage that house. Can you evict? Can you move the property if you have to? Look at the numbers. I look at a rent ratio for the money I'm putting in. What am I going to get in terms of cash flow? And cash flow is really tight right now with the leverage, if you're putting leverage on it.
Hmm.
But look at what you're investing and what kind of cash flow you're getting, and then look at the bigger picture in that market to, is it a sustainable rental market? For instance, a lot of people ran up to Detroit because you could buy a house for 10 grand. And then every time they turned it, they'd put 40 grand into it to
Hmm.
turn it. Well, that wasn't the sustainable investor market.
Yeah,
You want a market where your house is cared for as if they own it, but they're in there just for a short period of time. So it's really kind of looking at all those different factors to say, is this the market to be in?
yeah, yeah. Net return is always like net. Focus on the net.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
Dan, I think for recruiting people in, to the opportunity, it's going to be really similar, right? You're going to where the opportunities are. I would look at where I like to, if you could find, because a lot of the markets they're not saturated. It's never saturated because of the turnover. There's so many agents getting into the business, and there's always agents leaving other companies and that kind of stuff. So the opportunity never goes away because it's a fresh turnover. It's like oh gosh, who was the one who talks about the river? You can never step in the same river twice because
Yeah.
a man could never step in the same river twice because it's not the same river and it's not the same man, right? We change, the river's
Yeah.
flowing. So kind of each market continues to refresh itself over time. However, if we're going peak opportunity, you want to get into one where it's finally hit that tipping point and acceptance
Yeah.
has hit. And that's going to be when you see announcements, you don't have to get the lead dog. If you see the announcements that a big agent has made a change, right? That big, if they're influential, right? That if they're just a big producer, that doesn't mean they're going to be influential. It doesn't mean it's going to make a big splash. So if you look at that, whether it's one or two, it's starting to turn. that is a great place to get in because a ton of agents will see it, but a ton of agents may not have a relationship with those people. They may go, that may give it validity in their mind and go, maybe I should look at this, or I've been looking at it, but I've been looking around and no one else is here. Most people don't like to be first, right? And so it's, if you look at Simon Sinek has a great video on YouTube called The Anatomy of a Movement. And you can Google that. It's really fantastic. Talks about the crazy leader, talks about the first follower and the importance of the first follower, and then kind of how the progression is. It's a really fun video, short. But that concept, I would find markets where eXp is starting to gain market share as far as agent count, and just follow the announcements. eXp puts out the announcements when a big dog makes a move over, and he or she, moves into a market, and all the little prairie dog heads pop up out of the hole and wants to know what's going on, right? And that's gonna start. So if you can find a market where eXp is gaining acceptance and they've had a smattering of agents and now someone has brought in whatever, right? If you can build relationships with other agents in that market, they'll come in under you when they decide to join, right? They're open, and you can do
Yeah.
this through social media and other marketing efforts and all that other kind of stuff to do that, or you can do it through some phone calls. Like I said, go on vacation there, or go spend a week in sightsee, but make sure you pop around and see agents and schedule some appointments, especially so you can write off your trip. Um, so I think that, Dan, hopefully that's helpful to you on that one. Awesome. And Anna asked who that team. You've mentioned that team that you work with. I think people are curious. I'm sure they won't mind if you give them a shameless plug here on the.
Yeah, and I'd love to introduce you to that team. They're called Done For You Real Estate. They're out of Utah, and I'd love to just introduce you to the CEO. And so just I'm Kelly.Fasterling at expreferral.com.
Cool.
Just shoot me an email if you'd like to get connected with them. I'd be happy to make that personal introduction so you get the opportunity to kind of see what their services are, see if it's a fit for either you if you're investing or for your people because you can get paid forever on what they buy. That's just an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right, good. Cool. And we'll put inside a workplace for we'll put that as well, your email address so people can track you down and you can share that with them. That's great. I think it could be a great asset. And Anna also made the statement. She's found that investors understand the revenue share model and opportunity and also the stock and everything else because they're already thinking multiple streams. They're thinking passive income, they're thinking opportunity, little sweat equity that turns into money that mailbox money for the future.
And then Anna, if you can share with them the passive income they get out of real estate and then the passive income they get out of rev share and you show them head to head, that's really powerful. I've got more people interested in the rev share. They come to me to talk about real estate, but interested in the rev share because of just the numbers and the math on it.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got one last question. Karash asked this one. Curious about what you feel the top 5 states are for real estate investment right now. So you threw out like Utah, Arizona, Florida, Texas, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on like if someone's doing this, what are great markets to be looking at right now?
Yeah, I would say some of the hot markets now. I think Arizona's kind of in Vegas kind of came and went. Florida, taxes are high, insurance is high. I'm really starting to move away from that market a little bit. It's hard to get things insured.
Mhm.
The Tennessee is nice. Indianapolis is still nice. Oklahoma is still nice. Texas is decent. So I would say those would be tops right now.
Awesome. There you go. Man, an hour goes by fast, doesn't it?
Goes by fast.
This is so great though. Seriously, we really appreciate this, and I think that it's refreshing um, to talk opportunity and how it all ties together,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that is really the key, we encourage people not to get tunnel vision, when they're looking at opportunity, right? To,
Yeah.
to really look up. So I love that about what you've done, what you've accomplished, and how you've gotten to where you are. Because oh gosh, so I'll date myself on this real quick, but the I always use the Purdue oven stuffer roaster commercial with the pick pick pick. And if you guys can look up Google Purdue oven stuffer roaster pick 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 commercial, and it's just the bottom line is It's a whole bunch of different people pulling pieces of chicken off when they first came out, and you could get this cooked chicken. That was the latchkey kid days, and right, all of
Okay.
those things. And so it's like, man, hey, moms, you can buy this pre-cooked, as like the pre-rotisserie chicken thing, put it in the fridge, and then everyone can just grab it quickly on the go because everyone's working and kids have got sports in school. And it's just, and at the very end, it's like this dried carcass basically in the fridge, and they lift it up, and someone lifts it up and they pull one last piece of chicken off. And a lot of people get a whole chicken and they grab the drumstick or something and they leave all the rest behind. There's so much opportunity. So if you're here doing this, if you're in the real estate industry, there are opportunities. It doesn't have to be an either or. It's an and. Learn to layer it, learn how they work together. And Kelly, you've mastered it, which is awesome.
Thank you. The power of and, that's powerful.
You got it. I love it. Well, Kelly, thank you again for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We hope you have an amazing weekend. Guys, happy Fire Friday to you. Have an awesome weekend. We'll put Kelly's contact info in there, get her email and stuff. If you have other questions, I'm sure she won't mind answering a few questions. And if you're looking for someone to talk investments back and forth and that kind of stuff and share some opportunities, that's always a good idea.
Be happy to. Thank you so much for having me on here.
You got it. Thanks again. Take care, guys.
Take care.